Tourists and others can be arrested solely on the basis of their religion, ethnicity or country of origin, held indefinitely without explanation.
Well, that's one federal judge's decision I haven't read.
Yes, it is.
But it's still just one federal judge
whose decision is now the ruling verdict, and David Cole has filed a petition against that, number one. Number two, well, according to your own admission, FBI can look at the entire community to surveil it and to befriend it simultaneously. Anytime you look at all Muslims, all Jews, all Christians, any community in entirety, in relation to crime of a few, you are actually engaging in collective punishment. Right? That collective punishment...
I don't grant that.
Okay, let's agree to disagree.
Okay.
Collective surveillance is an element of collective punishment.
No, I'm not sure what collective surveillance means.
Collective surveillance means putting an entire community of 7 million under surveillance, collecting their names. For instance, in one of the counties, a Muslim had to go and get a document for a certain purpose. It was a lawsuit that he was involved in, and the person who was giving him the document said, by the way, we have been ordered by the FBI to collect every single case against any Muslim that we identify in the last 30, 40 years, compile it and give the separate information. My bag was stolen from my car but one time. I surprisingly got it back after 4 hours. I'm thankful for that, but it was not given back to me for 2 days. And one of the police officers in the office later on told me privately, he said, look, we have to photocopy everything because we are under order when a Muslim is implicated in any case, regardless of his victim or the victimizer, everything has to be photocopied and given to the FBI. In my case, it was only student papers, so I'm glad they have good time to sort of confirm my grading, whether it was valid or not. But the point here is that when we have the whole notion of FBI engaging in surveillance of 7 million Muslims, that action itself is unconstitutional and against the spirit of democracy. But I'd like to have the last word because we need to wrap up.
Well, I don't think 7 million Muslims are being surveilled. I don't think the FBI is capable of doing that. Is the Muslim community in America under particular scrutiny? Undeniably. Is that at the expense in specific cases of their rights? Undeniably. But is the entire Muslim community in America being deprived of its constitutional rights? I don't accept that.
All right, fair enough.
Okay.
This is a discussion to be continued.
Okay.
No, I think really what is happening is there is suddenly a common fear and threat in the American society as a result of 9/11 and the other developments. And I think we have to be very realistic about this. On the one hand, because of what happened, 9/11 was a great shocker. It was a great psychological transformation for Americans. It has a lot of consequences, which I don't think many Americans and many Muslims have really registered psychologically to appreciate what has happened to the country, because the amount of energy, the whole politics of fear that has developed not only in America but globally, and the fear that Americans never had before in their life. All of a sudden there's this group paranoia that has developed. It was not here before. Americans were very free people. They didn't have those kind of fears. So the reality that exists now is that the FBI, among many other agencies in the country, are put on the defensive because they now have to preempt. So that psychology of preempting any kind of negative action gives rise to this kind of situation we are living in. And it has all the implication of law and rights and duties, etc. So if you go to the masjid, Muslims may not be really under surveillance, but the fear makes the imagined real. And I think that's where we are, really. That's where we are.
And that's why I said I wouldn't trade places with a Muslim, because I think that fear is real. But one final point, it is rather striking that in the past year where we've had this intense debate over immigration in the United States, Americans have been calling into talk radio and in some cases demonstrating in the streets, not out of concern about Muslims and mosques, but out of concern about Mexican day laborers standing on the street corner. I don't derive any satisfaction from that, but I would argue that if Americans are riled up and fearful about any group in America today, it's Mexican labor immigrants more than it is Muslims. They're concerned about both, but I think they're most riled up, perhaps unwisely. We could argue about that.
Skerry, again, we unfortunately don't have time, but if you look at the history of the United States, each time America became less tolerant of its minorities, it became less receptive to immigrants from outside the world, particularly black and brown people. 50s legislation, 65 legislation, 2001 legislation are living examples. There's a correlation between domestic civil liberties agenda and immigration policies. But let that be a discussion for another day.
Okay.
We had a very interesting discussion, 3 Americans talking about their country, how to look at the social settings, groups, conflicts, compromises, making better conditions. America at its best when it's able to sort out its difficulties through discussion, through understanding, through building bridges, through creating new possibilities, through inventiveness. So this was a discussion with 2 of my learned colleagues. We made it a little too academic today, for which I apologize to my audience, but it was all for the better cause of understanding not only arguments, but theories and concepts behind those arguments. Thank you very much.